Father's Days at Sea by Bob, an illustrated memoir of my family's first holiday. 3 years ago, our daughter, Poppy, was born in critical condition, having suffered a brain injury during labour. She's happy, she's cheeky, she's determined.
My name's Poppy.
She also has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. But we have tried as much as possible to give Poppy a normal life.
Hello.
Poppy's brother Dylan was born 20 months after her, thankfully without complications. We like to think that we cope with most of the challenges life has thrown at us, but we'd be lying if we said what we've been through hasn't changed us. Sal and I loved to travel when we were younger, but now the stress and fear that go hand in hand with our situation has trapped us in our little Hampshire terrace. The idea of travelling further than a few miles away from home, let alone the possibility of taking our family abroad on holiday, is the kind of thing that gives us nightmares. However, a colleague of mine suggested that a cruise might be a safe and suitable holiday for a child with special needs. Cruise ships tend to have an abundance of swimming pools, and Poppy loves to swim. Being in the water relaxes her over-tensed muscles. She's now 3 and can walk independently, but falls over frequently and can't always see steps or holes because of her poor eyesight. There will be lifts between the decks, I remind myself, and long, flat stretches of deck space without any obstacles to get in her way. We booked a week-long cruise around the Med. On the morning of the trip, I woke in a state of panic, convinced that we would forget some crucial item of luggage. As we made our way through the airport, I started to wonder if we were making a huge mistake. It's hard not to be awestruck when confronted by 139,000 tons of cruise ship for the first time.
Whoa.
But while the size of the ship was overwhelming, the size of our cabin was disappointingly small.
It's not big enough.
An added challenge for Poppy, who finds it difficult to move around without a lot of space. She wasn't the only one who struggled with the cramped conditions. Dylan immediately contacted reception to complain. Sal and I began to feel a bit claustrophobic on board. Dylan was too young for the kids' club. Poppy's complex needs made it impossible to leave her there alone. I hoped things would be better once we could get off the boat on excursions, but those involved 2 hours on a coach for a 1-hour visit. It just wasn't practical with small children and all of their clobber. It was hard to see how we were going to get any pleasure out of all this. What had we done? Then, one morning, everything started to change. An exercise class on the main deck had caught Poppy's attention. She disappeared into a crowd of passengers, and before I knew it, she was gone. I panicked. But then, a moment later, she appeared on the stage next to the instructor. Having introduced herself to the crowd of elderly Italian ladies, Poppy performed some exercises of her own, which the signoras dutifully mimicked. She was in her element. No one watching could see a disabled child. They saw my cheeky, confident, life-loving daughter, and I suddenly realised how much my children were getting out of all this. While Sal and I had been looking at the ship's formal meals as obstacle courses to get through, Poppy and Dylan revelled in the continental dinner time. Poppy sat up beautifully and blushed when the waiter ceremoniously placed the cloth napkin on her lap, and Dylan only smashed 1 tumbler. One afternoon there was a theatre show for children. We weren't sure how much Poppy would be able to see with her impaired vision. I settled in for a miserably kitsch show of Disney songs performed by the ship's actors in full costume. Then I noticed that Poppy was completely captivated. For her, this was pure magic. At the end, she got out of her seat and applauded so enthusiastically that her glasses fell off. Sal and I may have dreamt of a holiday where we got some time to ourselves, but then I remembered why I wanted to do this in the first place. It was about the 4 of us, embracing this new adventure in the same way we dealt with everything else, together. There are times as a dad when I feel like I know exactly what I'm doing, and times when I feel less in control. And that's exactly as it should be.
Hi, rowboat.
By the time we disembarked after a week at sea, I didn't feel like we had endured a horrible ordeal. I felt like we had conquered our fears and risen to the challenge as a family. As we ate dinner on the cliff tops over Genoa, our cruise ship sailed into view. We reflected on what it had given us. New experiences, funny stories, happy memories, and best of all, confidence.
I love going on holiday.
We waved goodbye, safe in the knowledge that we were now a fully travel-compatible family unit. Well, almost.